Seeing no business, that meeting is now adjourned. Mr. Steve Bartow, we will call our September 8th meeting to order.
Yes, Commissioner Evans?
Here.
Commissioner Knott?
Yes.
Commissioner Scales?
Good morning.
Commissioner Tyson? And Commissioner Stevens?
I am here, thank you very much. We have our invitation today brought to us to District 4 and the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Knight, if you will introduce your pastor and let Odell Phillips lead us in the pledge.
I have here with us Pastor Hayes Kirby, Church of the Highlands and Fort Lauderdale campus, and we appreciate you being here, sir. If y'all will all rise.
It's an honor to be here today. Thank you, Commissioner Knight, for the opportunity. Let's pray. Father, thank you for who you are. Before we get into asking for anything, we just honor you for who you are and what you have done for us on many blessings in our life. We celebrate you and how you love the entire world. And God, as we enter into just the business of the county, I pray for your Holy Spirit to be in this place. I pray for every commissioner. I pray for every governmental official in the state of Alabama and our nation. God, we need a revival. And we already see drops of revival falling in our nation, in our country, and in our state. And we pray that you would continue to move in a powerful, powerful way. We thank you for what gets conducted today. It won't just be the wisdom of human beings, but there would be wisdom from you, wisdom from your Holy Spirit. God, we need you. We thank you. God, I pray a special blessing over every single individual here in this room today, in our county, in our state, in our nation, and in our world. We pray that you would continue to move. And we need you and every bit of who you are as we make leadership decisions, as we lead the people you've entrusted to us. And I thank you, Father, that today will bring you glory and honor in every single way. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Commissioner, you have before you the commission meeting minutes for August 18th. Is there any additional corrections or revisions to those minutes? And they stand as read.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. But we're going to waive the we're going to waive the reading of the minutes. All those say aye. Aye. There are no presentations today. We have public hearing Z 220024, Pine Haven Baptist Church. Mark.
Yes, sir. Good morning. This is a request to go from institutional 1 zoning and R6 zoning to R7, which is a planned unit development. The applicants in this case are proposing a large multi-use development that consists primarily of duplexes and a large apartment complex, all of which are geared towards persons 55 and older. The case did go to the Planning and Zoning Commission. There was some concerns about traffic as well as concerns about the dam that's on the property there. That would be in conjunction with that existing pond. The proposed development does comply with the standards for R7 zoning. It's provided to you on your dais today, as well as what is on the screen. This is the latest plan that they've come up with. They've done some adjustments based on recommendations of the county traffic engineer. With this being R7 zoning, they will be rezoning, and the development will take place in accordance with what the approved plan is, with only minor deviations that will be allowed without having approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. This proposed development is compliant with the county's land use plan for this area. As institutional zoning can be considered, or institutional uses can be considered in any given area, meaning that it meets the scale, the size of everything that may be around it. And if you'll notice here, this is north of Ross Bridge, and there are some apartments down here at the Ross Bridge complex that are in the near vicinity either. And so it wouldn't be anything that would be out of character with anything that's located at this intersection. This site is bordered by territory that's within the city of Birmingham as well as the city of Hoover. It was asked the other day if there was a plan for annexation to the city of Birmingham. We conferred with the planning staff as well as the transportation staff over the city of Birmingham, and neither had any knowledge of any plan to annex this property. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval with some conditions, one being a minimum landscape buffer of 15 feet along the western side of the property. Two, the use shall be limited to an age-restricted residential facility limited to 55 years of age or older. All outdoor lighting shall be directional in nature. The proposed development shall be limited to substantial compliance with the site plan submitted to P&Z on July the 21st, which was their last P&Z meeting. Any changes must be approved by P&Z. A right of entry and maintenance agreement must be made between the developer and the adjacent property owner to monitor, maintain, and repair the dam as necessary to ensure structural integrity and operational capacity of the dam, and to be reviewed and accepted by the county drainage engineer. In conversation with the county drainage engineer, staff is also going to recommend an additional condition, which is also listed on the screen. A dam breach analysis shall be submitted as part of the site development plan, and any improvements determined to be necessary to protect downstream property owners and existing infrastructure be completed. And this again is just to ensure that the drainage basin and the drainage pond itself is going to be sufficient enough so that we won't have road washouts or any damages to anybody that may be downstream.
Going back to the photo, where's that?
It's located here at the drainage pond.
Is it an earthen dam? Is it?
Yes.
What's the elevation, that falls off toward the backside of it, if that dam was breached,
It would go
would it
towards,
ooze out or would it flow out like a waterfall?
if it were to overflow, I mean, it would cause,
So it,
right.
they,
No, I'm not worried about overflow, I'm worried about breaching.
so the dam is, it's an existing pond, it's part of a two-pond structure that was constructed in a ravine. So any overflow to that dam or damage to it will spill down into the lower one, which then would spill down, into an area that would then overtop and cross the road, and there is a residence to the side and up the hill, but that's part of the reason that the dam breach analysis is important, to make sure that that infrastructure is sufficiently resilient and maintained in a way that is necessary to abate those issues.
On Ross Bridge Drive, doesn't it narrow to a 2-lane right in there?
Yeah, Shannon Winona is a 2-lane that leads into Ross Bridge from the north. If you're leaving Ross Bridge going north towards Lakeshore Drive, yes, it does narrow to 2-lane right there. And as part of their development plan, they have revised that access along there to just be a one-way. So I believe it would just be entrance only?
From the north?
Yes. Let's see, it says on this. Yes, entry only. So it would just be one way. There wouldn't be any exiting on the Shannon Winona.
How many total units, counting all the duplexes and the apartments, or condos, or whatever they are?
184.
Is there any opposition?
There was some opposition at the hearing, and I believe there have been some folks signed in today with some questions regarding this. Any additional questions?
That's it. Like open a public hearing this time for Z 220024. I have 1, 2, 3, I have 4 people that have signed the list, to address this. Then Frank Quinn, Frank, you live in Kimberly, Alabama, that's a long way from.
Yes, sir, I live in Kimberly now, but I grew up in Shannon, Rossbridge area. And I was property owner.
All right, and James Carter,
I live in the Mountain View community.
okay, Brian Sutter,
Yes, sir, I'm his wife.
and Chris Porter.
It's Chris Porter, I'm just Doubtful Associates, just in support of Brian.
Okay, let's start out with Mr. Carter.
Good morning, thank you.
Yes, sir, you come up to the podium, state your name,
Yes.
your address, and then you can state your position. Then we'll go with Mr. Quinn and move forward from there. All right.
Good morning. Just want to make sure that mic is working.
Yes, sir. You're good.
I'm here to tell a story. And I tried to email my comments and things, and apparently I couldn't get it through. I live in a Mountain View community, and my property would be directly affected by the zone change. First, let me preface my statements. My neighbors in Shannon have been exceptional. Hello? I'm in no way directing my frustrations or my comments towards them. I'm attempting to explain to the committee why such a change would affect my community. When I purchased my home, I moved away from brick buildings in the city and thought that this would be an area for me to raise my family. I've raised 2 children in this community. Our community is tucked away from all the noise of the city. In other words, it's a place of refuge, a quiet place of serenity and peace. After moving here, I met an elderly man who was a gardener. One day I got the courage to stop and talk with him. I learned a lot about gardening from him. He was hard of hearing and full of information. I made many more stops over the years, and one day I was in the Shannon post office, and I learned that he had passed away. On the corner where his garden was located, there's a black walnut tree and a persimmon tree next to the driveway on the Shannon roadside. As you travel down the road, there is a house with an apple tree in the front yard, and next to that house, there's another house with a pear tree that is always full of pears. I don't want to see that disappear. I moved to this area for that kind of lifestyle, for the beauty of the landscape. Now, I do disagree with the rise in terms of putting a facility in my back door. Brick buildings. The infrastructure is not developed well enough to handle the traffic that's already coming through there. To alter the community would take away from the ambience of what we have in that community. I ask this committee to strongly consider not even allowing this. There are other properties that can be considered to put such a facility in a development. I understand that, I don't have the kind of pockets that Rise have. I don't have that kind of money to fight them in a court. But this is my opportunity to speak, and I would love for you to consider what I'm saying. Now, I'm not sure if any of my other neighbors are here to speak, but I came in protest of this development. I made that very clear to Rise when they met at Ross Bridge. And I'm sure there are other people who would object, but I'm not sure why they're not here. Now, consequently, moving such a large mass of dirt in an area like that, I haven't seen any man or machine that could really handle the flow of water. As you can see, we've had these massive floods across the country, no dam, no way you can control that flow of water. A 15-foot buffer, well, I'll be staring into the back door of whatever house area is or building area is there. We only have such a thin buffer already between Shannon, the Shannon community, and our community. So we definitely feel that, well, I can speak for myself. I feel like that 15-foot buffer is not enough. Development itself is out of place with the residential zoning that's already there. We'd like to see it remain a residential zone. Like I said before, my comments are in no way towards the neighbors of Shannon. As I said, I met a gardener, very nice gentleman. It's a very nice place. And we don't want to see a change.
So you say you live in Mountain View. Where is that in relation to that?
We're on the right in our back door.
I'm sorry, I didn't see where you were
Right here.
pointing. Okay. Is that the neighborhood back there?
Yes, sir. Quite an affluent community. We'd like to see it stay that way. Would not want to take anything outside of this hearing to the next level. So we ask that you consider my comments as I am prepared to go further.
Okay. Mr. Todd.
Yes, I have received, some calls, from some residents over there, Walter Body called about, were y'all notified about, was all the residents notified about this project going on?
I'm not really sure, but we got two notices, one for August and then another one that came in that was for this hearing today. So there are two different notices that came out from planning and zoning committee. So I'm not sure, there was some confusion about when this was gonna take place, but I was counting on this being the right meeting, and so I'm here today, so it is.
And I asked Michael, did y'all, was it up to y'all to notify the neighborhood?
Yes, ma'am. The reason for the two notices is that we send out notices for one, the planning and zoning commission, who hears the case first, and makes the recommendation for you all. So that's why they received two notices. And notices went out to all property owners within 500 feet.
That's all?
Yes,
500
that's
feet?
what we're required to do by law.
Because I received really 3 calls when they had a meeting over in Ross Bridge.
And that would have been something that the developer did on his own volition, which of course we advised him to do.
And the residents called and told me that they had went to a meeting over there. So I would like to know, did the developers reach out to the residents in that area about the building of this?
I believe they're here to answer that question.
Yes, sir, we did reach out, we've had neighborhood meetings that were not just.
How many?
We had one neighborhood meeting, and then we had an additional meeting with the HOA, at their request, met with their HOA. They've requested, additional items, like right now, I think the, landscape buffer is 15 feet. We're providing an additional 25 feet. There are concerns about the proximity of our largest building, the 4-story building, to their closest residential home. That is, I believe, right around 225 feet from their closest house to our largest building, which is that, the larger apartment building on the northern side of that. We also, part of this package, you'll see that there's a site section. Due to the topography, our apartment building there is lower in topography, and so you can actually see that. Continue on here. That's the next one. That bottom section there, you can see that the largest building we have is lower. On the right-hand side of that picture is that neighboring community.
Question, are you the applicant?
I am, yes, sir.
You just sign in as the applicant, and that was the problem. When this gentleman finishes speaking, I'm gonna let you come up and make your case.
Yes, sir.
And then we'll have the other opposition.
Yes, sir.
Can I ask another question? Is it any way we can have another, I think one town hall meeting to the neighborhood is not enough. I feel like they have not been informed enough, because from the calls that I received, they said they ran up on the meeting. They were like not really notified, someone called someone like that. So I wanted to see, is it any way we can have some more input in from that community? Because I actually went over there and I actually rode the community. Where Mountain USA building a new subdivision on the other side, am I correct? There's another if you go around that little bend where y'all first enter your development, you go around and building some more houses over there, Alvin Johnson and his building, I looked at some property, I was over there looking at some.
Right, that's been in the making for years.
Yeah, that's been going on for about 10, 12 years now. And, I was looking over that area, Oxmoor Valley is around the other way. So I would just like to how could they go by notifying the community and letting them know about this project? So that the community can get some more information. I know those are some pretty expensive homes in that area, and I know you do value your property, and you do have some concerns, and I can totally get that. So I would like to know, is there any way they can do that? Notify the community, because one meeting is not enough.
That's fair. So how many more speakers do we have?
2 more, I believe.
Okay, so I'll wait until they speak.
Mr. Johnson really had a good point. You need the communications you're able to work with and have relationships. And I'm sure that this planned development wants to be a good neighbor. They just don't know how to be a good neighbor because they haven't had that communication with the neighbors yet.
That's fair.
I think, yes. I just thought what I did and not, yes, ma'am.
Because what I'm hearing is that they don't want it. There's a difference between communication to proceed to a development versus the fact that they don't want it. Now, what I'm hearing is that you don't want it because you want to maintain your property value. You moved in the community so you can have peace and tranquility, and this would serve as an opposition to that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're not interested in a development.
No,
You wanted to cease and desist. Is that
not
right?
at all.
Okay,
Not at all.
I got it.
And Mr. Stevens, if I may, let the record reflect that if this goes forward, I plan to go further.
Well, and that's fine, that happens all the time. We don't, that has no bearing on what we do. We're trying to make sure that your needs are met along with the needs of the applicant. And that usually works through communication and be able to understand that there's accommodations that they can make as a development coming in that possibly will make you happy and give you the buffer that you need and the things that would be needed and necessary to make it happen. But you can't have that unless you talk. You have to talk to each other, not at each other. And we have that problem over here sometimes. But we understand that when we work together, that it will work. And it may be that you're set and nothing's going to ever change. I fully understand and fully respect that. It may be that you can work with this developer and find something that will be workable for everyone. And if that point comes in, this commission, it changes what this commission does. And I think that if we were to do something right now, it would be premature. And we've heard from you. I want to hear from the other opposition. I want to hear from the developer. And then this commission will take a minute to reflect. You'll hear from the commissioners, and then we will decide what we'll do, okay?
Yeah.
I appreciate you, and I think that's the way we need to work.
One more thing. You're not interested in it.
So,
I just want to reiterate the fact that we don't want it there.
understand?
Okay.
Good. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Thank you very much. Let's hear from, we have one other opposition, and then we'll hear from that. Mr. Quinn,
Yes,
how are you today?
that's fine. I'm Frank Quinn, and actually, after you said it, like I live in Kimberly, but I grew up in Shannon. I own property. Actually, my property line runs down the middle of that dam that's in question. The plans, I think, are to increase the water level 30% behind that dam. And as we stated, the reason it's an action item for us to handle it there's some pine trees growing out of that dam that are about 3 foot in diameter. So if they ever blow over in a windstorm, tornado, that dam's gone. So my concern is everything would rush into a little pond I got below there, it would overflow my dam immediately, take it right down the road in the street. And the road down through there is down a narrow ravine, so the water would go straight down. I have been meeting with the engineering department. We had a meeting Tuesday. They brought some proposal to me to talk about, but we haven't got it resolved yet. And I just wanted the commission to know we haven't resolved it. The proposal they brought required me giving them access to several parts of my property. I think it totaled about 16% of my land. They wanted to be able to use for the spillway and things, want me to give it to them.
Give it.
I'm sorry?
Give it to them.
Well, they wanted an easement for it, but it would take away from me being able to use it, et cetera. So, or not totally, but for certain things it would. So that's an issue we're going to need to resolve. And we met Tuesday. I'm waiting for something from their legal person in Jacksonville, Florida, to send me a legal document so I can read what they're proposing. So it's one thing to see it on a map with little squares, another thing to read what the legal language says about what kind of easement, who has access to that easement, and all of that. So that part's still up in the air, but the dam and that lake is my main concern because it just opens up some issues, and the engineering company understands that.
I think you just reinforced what I just said with other gentlemen, that we're not quite ready for that.
We're not, and from as far as building it, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, I grew up over there, I don't live over there anymore, but I grew up in that area before Mountain View was there, before Ross Bridge. I hunted all those woods, I fished these ponds when I was 13 years old.
So I understand.
Okay. But anyway, that's my concern.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mr. Quinn?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How long has that dam been there? Was it?
It was old when I bought the land, and I think I bought the land in about 1980, 70 or 80. There were actually 3 ponds there. My land has a pond below that, a small one. But there were 2 ponds above me on that piece of property when I bought it, below them. They were the 2 bigger lakes. They drained the upper 2 probably 20 years ago, and they filled in the upper one and kept the middle one. But to my understanding, most of the water flow for that area after the development will come right down through that lake and through my land.
Thanks, sir.
How big is that lake?
I don't know, the engineering company could give you the size. It's not that big, it's just they're increasing it 30%. I assume they're expecting about a 30% increase in water flow.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else speaking against this? We'll now hear from the applicant.
Good morning, my name is Brian Sedith, I'm with Rise, I'm the applicant. I'm a little surprised to hear the concerns about communication. Because we have had our neighborhood meeting, we invited not just Mountain View, but the community around. We had that meeting. We did have some opposition, but I was surprised to get many people come up to me afterwards in favor of. Mountain View HOA then reached out to me and requested that I be present at their regular HOA meeting that's held on a monthly basis. I was there in person, meeting with the board, and then also some of the residents. They had requested during the neighborhood meeting that we increase our setback. The landscape buffer. The landscape buffer, as you see as a condition, is 15 feet. We've expanded that to 25 feet. That's just the landscape. their biggest concern was the distance from the building, our largest building to their closest home. And we showed them, provided them the plans, showed them the dimensions, and I believe the closest is about 225 feet from their home to our largest building. Their other concern was the trash compactor. Our trash compactor was shown close to our entry at Shannon. Right now, we, at their request, we relocated it because they were concerned that there was going to be an eyesore. So when I met with the HOA, they, after their questions were answered, they came to me and said they were actually in favor of it. I understand that not everyone in the neighborhood is going to be in favor of what we're doing. And I was told that they were going to be here, but I don't see anyone else from the board here. That being said, regarding the pond, we are increasing the size of the pond on our property. It is going to increase about 30%. We are not increasing the height of that water body. We're increasing the depth and the width, more so on our property. Currently, there's a dam that runs along the property line, and we have been speaking with Mr. Quinn about that. Our plan now is to move, and it's reflected in our drawings, that we're moving that dam off of the property line about 35 feet more inward onto our property. There is a current spillway that occurs on the northern point at that tip that is existing right now. That spillway is for the existing pond to flow into Mr. Quinn's pond. Our civil engineer who is present today has run some numbers, and he's expressed to me that we're actually going to be decreasing that spillway. What we are requesting from Mr. Quinn is not to be given an easement. It's the spillway currently lies within the current setback, property setback. We're requesting to formalize that easement so that that spillway can be maintained, and we're willing to help maintain that. Also, where his existing dam and the existing dam that's on the property line, we're requesting that there also be an easement there that we can help maintain that. That's some additional eyes that are looking at it. We have a regular maintenance program that we adhere to, both on a monthly basis, pre-storm basis, and then after storm basis. Those maintenance programs are also audited on a quarterly basis. That's for all of our properties, and not just inside the buildings, but also the exterior, the site itself. We take great pride in what we do. That being said, we have relocated our entry off of Shannon Road. That was more in line with Sunbelt Parkway. After our traffic analysis, the traffic study was done, there was concerns about being able to exit or even enter into our site at that point, because that's a pretty intense curve up ahead on the north side. And so it was recommended that we move that south and also make that an entrance only, so that those that were trying to exit the property would not have to do so concerned about oncoming traffic from the north. That is one thing that we have done that was different than as a response to the last year, is make that a one-way. There is an entrance and an exit off of Shannon Road. That updated traffic study has been shared, and I believe we've already started having these conversations with the county engineer.
So there's two entrances and one exit.
That's correct, yes, sir. And this is age restricted, 55 and under. That's part of the conditions as well. Originally, we were wanting to do age targeted, but we are more than happy to maintain that age restricted.
All right, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, sir.
You said you would maintain the spillway, but after you're done and gone, who maintains the spillway?
Well, if it's part of the easement, that's part of the reason why we want to formalize the agreement.
But my question is, who will maintain it afterwards?
The HOA who doesn't maintain it after you
after,
After you develop and sell all the properties, and then y'all move on to the next project, who's gonna maintain that spillway?
so it's not gonna be subdivided so that we're selling all the properties, it's going to be one property. But I do think I understand your question, what happens years and decades from now, because this is not intended for us to be able to turn this and sell it in the near future. We want to be part of the community, and we have our office on top of Red Mountain. We're very much part of, we want to be here. But your concern is about what happens later on. Right now, that spillway exists from this property onto our neighbor's property.
Right, and you're gonna increase it 30% and lower the depth of that lake.
No, so we are going to increase the surface area of our pond. We're going to be decreasing the spillway that's actually running off of our property into that pond. So it's actually going to be decreasing what's happening from what's happening right now.
Couple more questions, what's the source of that water to that lake?
The source of that existing pond, I believe it's all runoff. But I do have my civil engineer here that would be able to speak to that in more detail.
Mr. Commissioner, can I add on to your previous question?
Sure.
Because I don't know that we answered it. I know you want to be here. It's like, who's maintaining that dam in perpetuity once you make the changes? Is there going to be an HOA here, or is there a CAM that dam is maintained in perpetuity once this development is put into place?
So the dam that we're going to be putting on our property would be fully on our property. We're moving that away from the property line onto our property within, I believe it's 35 feet off that property line.
Who's maintaining it 20, 30, 50 years? Is that your group that's still maintaining it as long as that is there?
If the dam is on our property, then the property owner would have to maintain that.
One more question, these are 4 stories, do you have elevators in there?
We do have elevators in the 4-story buildings. Yes, sir.
So I have several questions for you. One is, this business, as I see it, tell me what you consider this business to be that you all are attempting to do. I see, according to what I have here, it is obviously for older individuals. I mean, is this some type of communal living? Or tell me a little bit more about what you're doing.
This is apartment living for those that are 55 and older. Most of the individuals that live in our 55 and older communities have decided that they wanted to downsize. They no longer want to live in their homes. They no longer want to cut the grass. They no longer want to do any of that. These individuals, most of them are no longer working. The average age in our communities is 73. And this is purely not an assisted living. This is active adults that are within the 55 and older age range.
Would you say that this business, I know they're asking, but I'd like for you to respond for the record. This business is for profit, am I correct?
That is correct, yes, ma'am.
Right.
This will be an apartment community, rental apartments for 55 and older.
Okay, just for the record.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, my next question would be, as relates to communicating with residents in that area, did you all do any kind of informational setting where those who are homeowners versus what you're building in terms of property, either appreciation or depreciation, was that provided at all? Have you done any such study?
So that was one question was asked.
Mm-hmm.
And it's rightfully so. When someone moves into your neighborhood, is the property value going to go up or down? And to be honest, I cannot tell you if it's going to go up or down based off the economy. I can, and I expressed this in the neighborhood meeting as well, that I've done my research, but it doesn't matter what I say because I'm the developer. And so you're going to assume that it's biased. Now, what I have researched indicates that across the country, when you're bringing in apartments, that you're not going to actually decrease or increase. At times, you will see an increase because you have more people living there. You're increasing the jobs around the area. Retail continues to go up, and then suddenly that space becomes a more desirable area. but most of the time for my research, it does not change the value, either up or down.
So not being sarcastic when I say this, you're wonderful, you should be in politics, you did everything but answer my question. Which sounds to me as though that information was not provided to the residents that would have to be the neighbors to this property, right?
That's correct. I cannot provide information regarding whether their property value will go up or down, so there's no information that I can provide. We did discuss it, but I'm not able to provide that information.
So let me also ask this, and then I'm gonna provide my personal statement, okay? So what would the average leasing cost be for a person? I mean, I'm sure you forecasted that. So, you know, this property or this development would probably have how many units would you say?
We have a total of 184, so 50 of those are going to be cottages, which are going to be primarily on the eastern side. We do have 4 at the top. Those cottages are duplexes, but we call them cottages. Both have garages, private garages, and some of them actually have 2-car garages.
So your average leasing cost would be what?
For a 2-bedroom, it's right around $2,100 a month.
Alright, and so how many did you say that would apply to? You said 2 bedrooms, I mean, what is it? You said $2,100, alright?
Yes, ma'am.
How many properties would that be eligible for, like within that development, how many would you say?
I believe that our mix is right now 60% 2 bedrooms.
Okay, so 60% is, the total development is 184, right? You're saying 60% of 184.
I believe that's correct.
Okay, so 9.2, so that's like 92 units would be 50%, a little bit above that would probably be close to 100, maybe 105, is that what I'm kind of gathering?
That sounds right.
Alright, so then if we say 2,100 times 105 would be $220,500 per month, is that right? Would you say that?
Assuming the math is correct, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Well, I understand. I can't see, so.
Okay, that's okay. So let me share a little story with you, so you'll hear my heart before you see my vote. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
When I was a council member, I'll never forget that we had some very pricey homes in a community that basically the road on Carson Road did not have apartments, right? And people came out and they spoke and they said, hey, you know, this is not going to be good. You know, at some point our properties will depreciate. And then more importantly, people may be able to afford on some level to come, but they won't have the mindset of a homeowner, right? Okay, if you go up Carson Road right now to this day, whether it be on the city line or whether it's on the county line, every undesirable thing you can think of is what happened. Now, I understand if you're paying $2,100 per month for one unit, you may have a different kind of resident, right? But here's the thing that I hope that we take under consideration as a commission. You're going there to do business. The people who live there are taxpayers who plan to live there, period. So whatever, you know, good or bad or indifferent, they gotta live there. And your property value better be at the forefront of your mind, especially if you're the homeowner versus a multifamily dwelling, right? That regardless of once it's built, the outcome of that will affect those folks who are there. Now, you know, you seem to be a reasonable young man, and I will say this to you: I wouldn't take my property where seemingly people don't want it. That means that they don't want to do business with you there, right? So I would say it would be incumbent, and I'm very proud of the residents who came up, both of you. But I understand, sir, you're in Kimberly, but I'm definitely talking about you, sir. Very impressed with that, because a lot of times people feel when they come before us that big business will rule the day, and so therefore you don't have a voice in your own community. which I never have like that. So I would say to you, sir, for me, if the community has made it quite clear that they feel as though your project is encroaching on their lifestyle or their residential living, that's worth taking a look at. And more importantly, the people who are in support of it, they're not here. And we can only cast votes on who showed up to the meeting. Am I making sense?
I understand.
Okay, and I just wanna let you know that I appreciate your time, but I do want you to understand. Matter of fact, if you don't mind, do you live in Jefferson County?
I do not live in Jefferson.
Do you live in the state of Alabama?
I do not live in the state of Alabama.
Okay, so actually you are representing your business is here on the south side, you said, right?
We do have our office over on Red Mountain.
Okay, so you have a business here, but you personally don't live here?
I personally do not live here. My team does. My
Okay.
construction team, yes ma'am. They all live in Jefferson County.
So, I'll just say this. It's different when you're here. That's all I'm gonna say. And there's nothing against you, but I've always been one that believed that if something should go wrong with the property or the development, whatever the case may be, you need to feel the pain of it, but you're not gonna feel the pain of it. Those who work for you will, but you personally are not here. And it's profitable. I mean, what you're doing is not a hobby, and that's what people gotta understand. This is not a hobby. This is your lifestyle. This is what you do, right? But for the people who live there, I've seen where you take these developments, and over a period of time, when we change the zoning, it's going to allow other businesses of the same model to come in, and once that zoning is changed, it's done. You understand what I mean? So you can have the greatest project ever, but if we change that zoning, it's going to have an impact on the people who live there. So I'm gonna always be for the little folk that feel like big folk are not gonna listen because they got enough money to move the conversation, and I don't ever like that, and I don't think that that's your intention. But sir, I will tell you, the mere fact that you're not here, maybe you wouldn't have the type of appreciation or lack thereof as relates to that property, and so much has gone over there to try to make that property a beautiful place. Over time, you're talking about near Ross Bridge, and I just don't understand that this right here, I would have no understanding why one would not impede on the other adversely. Am I making sense?
Yes ma'am.
Okay, but I do appreciate you.
I appreciate your comments as well. I will also, I do hate that the rest of the HOA is not here, because we've had one opposition be spoken. Everyone else has been in favor. So I do hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
We don't want to be in an area where neighbors don't want us either. We want to be good neighbors.
Yeah.
And we have not had that experience so far, with the exception of two neighbors.
Where do you live?
I live in Atlanta.
Commissioner Adams.
I get the gentleman's concern, Mr. Carter, I certainly do. My concerns would more align, with Mr. Quinn. I understand that the dam is probably a bigger issue. We've had a conversation, briefly out before. There's going to be a study on the dam, is that correct, Ms. Carter?
That would be their recommendation.
Yeah, that's staff recommendation.
Okay, so I think that's a huge issue, especially if there are trees, large trees in the dam. We've had issues with dams before, so let's certainly get it. I'm wondering if maybe this vote is premature and pending that study coming out that may have more impact. Depending on staff to kind of help draw that, if that is a true statement.
If I may, R7 zoning has a 2-year period. If there's no development within 2 years, then it expires. It may be worth the applicant to go ahead and invest the time to go into that study, so that way the zoning itself will expire. Also, and just to touch on some comments that Commissioner Scales had, R7 zoning is development plan specific. And so there would be no change to what they're proposing today unless it has to go through the Planning and Zoning Commission, which could ultimately be kicked back to the County Commission at their pleasure. And then also the conditions that were put on place would also restrict that age to 55 and older. So it wouldn't be something that would be allowed for rental or market rate rental for anyone of Anybody at any time can rezone property,
But it would be.
but they would do it with the commission as well.
Okay. So it would be important in the grand scheme of things to have that study done of that dam before approval.
I can see the advantages of having that done before.
That's the study of the existing dam, correct?
Correct.
Well, plus, if you're gonna make changes to the lake, I think you have to take that into consideration too. You know, the study of the existing dam, and then if you increase it by 30%, that seemed to me would put more pressure on the dam, but I'm not an engineer.
Understood, but that's also why we're building a new dam on our property that's 35 feet inward onto our property.
It always seems like anytime you step off into anything, there's always more issues. So not making sure that, you know, I feel more comfortable voting on anything knowing that we have all the information, especially the stormwater and where things have been over the last 5-10 years. And, you know, instead of 25 or 100-year floods, we're getting 1,000-year floods. You know, it doesn't seem like it's stopping anytime soon. I feel a lot more comfortable that the stormwater going into this lake and that dam were safety and secure and engineered appropriately, and everybody feels comfortable and our staff feels comfortable with it. I prefer that we postpone any kind of vote today until that study is done and there's something more that we can do.
Also give you an opportunity to speak with your homeowners, the HOA that you sit with, or ones in favor of, which we see none.
Understood.
And right now, I don't know that it gives you an opportunity to use that communication. And if there's no change in what we see now, we may need to rethink the project.
So,
The
Mr.
chair
President,
will entertain a motion.
hold on, Mr. President, if you don't mind, before we make the motion. Then, let me ask this, Mr. Morrison. Not you, honey, but Mr. Morrison. So my question is this, if the commission takes an action today and is based on some of what I'm hearing about voting prematurely on the project, right? Then where does that leave him? Does that mean that they still can proceed on some level with their project? I mean, what happens in between one versus the other?
If it were to be approved today, in its current state, again, they would have to develop the site plan. And then, again, that's our settings on it. They would have to develop with any conditions that are bestowed by the commission. Again, planning and zoning commissions recommended some, staff is recommending an additional. And they would have 2 years to commence development on the property before the zoning reverts back to its original zoning.
Okay, so what I'm saying is, for his purposes, does this then, if this vote is delayed based on some of what I'm hearing, if this item is delayed, then where does that leave this business? Or do they proceed forward, but they just slow down momentum, or what happens? What are they doing during this time?
If it's delayed, for whichever purpose of the county commission is delayed, it will not appear back on the agenda until that reason has been taken care of and reviewed by county staff.
Okay. So, Mr. President, I'm gonna be honest with you, I know that you called for a vote on this matter, and I don't want to prolong the meeting, but I will tell you, that concerns me when you have people who are here that are opposing this project, and we're talking about delaying it for the sake of whatever. I'm hoping that they will be able to be here if this vote is delayed for whatever reason, because again, for the folks who come and they show up, it's just like any meeting. The people who are present and the vote of a few can determine the outcome of many. You understand? So I hear what you're saying about them getting together, but you know, I just strongly disagree if the people in the community who show up and they are saying that they are not in agreement with it, I don't see why we ignore that. That's there. And especially if you tell me that you haven't provided the residents anything that says that how this is going to impact their property. That would be the first thing that anyone would ask. You bring a development, you know, what is that, you know, if my home is now $300,000, is it gonna reduce it to 125? What is it gonna do based on your project? And I'm just saying that in general. But I digress, Mr. President, because I'm gonna vote the way I want to anyway. But I just hope that those who are here today on behalf of their community that they are allowed to be able to come back. So if we delay the item, Commissioner Hammonds, then we need to give it a time certain today so that those who are interested in coming can make sure that that is on their schedule as well.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion that we postpone this,
Delay.
or delay, postpone, until staff is satisfied with the, dam study and brings it back to before the commission. Not knowing how long that would take, you had somebody back there that like.
Can I speak quickly on the dam?
Please come up. Yes, sir. Now, I didn't, you said something, but this gentleman decided to raise his hand and did it the right way. Let's let him come up.
Fair enough. I don't want to belabor the moment here with Commissioner Evans. I heard your statement. You said what matters to you is the dam. I represent the Mountain View community.
I said, I understand your concerns. One of my concerns is the dam and how it affects the entire community, because stormwater is a big thing for me. So I certainly get your concerns, absolutely.
I just wanted to come up and make sure I heard you right. That's it.
No, but,
Okay.
no, I certainly understand your concerns.
He's worried about the dam. I'm concerned about the community, and I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to speak. You are, according to the developer, most of the homeowners are okay with this, and you are in the minority on that. So I wanted to hear from everyone and give them an opportunity to speak, but I hear you, okay? And you're there loud and clear, and you're here voicing your opinion. So we're gonna certainly take that into consideration.
The minority, Mr. President, is based upon the statement of another person.
Right.
It's not based on any factual information, so we don't know that. All we know is who showed up to the meeting.
And there was the phone calls, it's my district, and the phone calls that I received were against the project. So I did receive, and I told them I received some calls, and they did not want the project. That's my major concerns, and those houses over there are running $700,000 and above, in that community. Just like I told you, I walked and knocked on every single door over there, so I know what's over there.
Chair, will entertain you. Would you like?
This gentleman too?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be brief. Taylor Scholl, Scholl Engineering, Civil Engineer for the project. Just to address Mr. Amon's comment on delaying for the dam study, as Mike mentioned, if it is rezoned, you have 2 years to build the project or versus previous zoning. Part of the permitting requirements would be to go through the dam study you're speaking of. That would be part of our scope. So by delaying it, you're asking the developer to undertake a significant study at significant risk to them if this project doesn't get zoned. But if we are zoned, it'll be something we do as part of the permitting process. Right now, we're probably at 40%, 30% final design. So we have taken it pretty far. There's a lot of work to do, a lot of money to spend on engineering costs at risk to them. So, and they do have the leverage in your court. The county permitting folks can delay the project if we don't meet the requirements of the engineering department as part of the dam study. So just ask you to consider some of the risks they're undertaking by delaying and having us do a significant study at risk.
And I get your point. I'm not comfortable going down that road until our engineering folks have looked at it and we understand, because there are issues downstream if that dam fails, and if we zone it now, I would rather it be on us as a vote as opposed to our engineering staff having to do that.
That's fair. I will say this does exist. The drainage will be improved, in my opinion, the maintenance will be better. So I think the condition will be improved with this project. Although the volume of water above is more about 30%, the flow rate will be decreased, the dam will be improved, trees will be removed, maintenance will be improved. So in my opinion, things will be better.
So, Mr. President, at this time, I know that you got a first and a second, but Mr. President, respectfully, I'd like to speak to the motion in light of even what this gentleman has stated. which appears to be that there's some uncomfortability on their part to absorb this expense in order to have this study done to make sure that the residents are protected. That being said, Mr. President, then I would offer at the appropriate time, that, if this is going to be the, sub-motion, then if it fails, Mr. President, then I'd like for us to go and present it, whether they go up or down, yes or no, as relates to the item as presented.
Would either the commissioner, you'd like to remove their motion or something?
I'll move.
You remove?
I'll remove it.
All right, my
So you
motion,
will withdraw it, then, Mr. President?
with, more motion's been withdrawn.
Yes, so then I now would make you withdraw your second.
I did.
So then, Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion at this time for denial of zoning KZ 220024.
Second.
Have a motion second for denial. Ms. Dillard, can call it.
Commissioner Evans?
No.
Commissioner Knott?
No.
Commissioner Scales?
We move for denial, right? Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. I'm gonna move for denial on this based on what I'm saying. Next zoning case. Z 220038, perhaps this one will be a little easier.
This is a request for compliance. This property is located out in the Queenstown area near Trustful. Property is on R5A, which is exclusively for mobile homes, and on this particular site there is a stick-built residence. And the applicant has just made application in order to bring the property to compliance. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval. Staff recommends approval along with, or concurrence with the Planning and Zoning Commission's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Like this time, I'd like to, open a public hearing Z 220038. Owner Brian Wood, changing the zoning. Is there anyone in the audience speaking in favor of or in opposition to this? If you want to speak in favor of it, you're good. Hey, sometimes it's best just not say anything. Close public hearing this time. The chair will entertain a motion. Move second. All in favor say aye. Aye. You're good. All right. Next is Z 220040.
Yes, sir. This is a request for, also a request for compliance. This house, there's a old historic house that's on this property. Shortly after I began employment in the county, the property was rezoned to C1 for a bed and breakfast. I don't believe that business venture ever took off. Years later, another portion of the property was zoned to institutional too, as there was plans for a large church property to the north on the opposite side of the road, and they were rezoned the property for access. At this point in time, because neither of those projects have come to fruition, they're requesting a rezoning back to its original R2 in order to market it just for residential purposes, as for the single-family residence. With that being the case, again, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval, and staff recommends approval in concurrence.
All right, I'd like to open the public hearing at this time for Z 220040. There were no applicants that signed up. Anyone speak in favor of in opposition to this? Seeing none, the public hearing is now closed. Move on.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded twice. All in favor say aye. Thank you very much. We have one more zoning case, Z 22005. This was a carryover case. This is public hearing. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is a request for a 108 lot subdivision along Fletcher Road down in the McCall area. Originally, the applicant made application for a significant more amount of lots and a different zoning classification that would allow more density. In light of the county's land use plan for the area, as well as in response to public opposition at the original public hearing, they downscaled their development plan to just have the 108 lots. The property consists of several acres. Excuse me. the density of the overall development is around 1 per acre. Under its current zoning, as A1, it would allow for a subdivision of having 92 lots approximately. And so the differential here is only about 18 lots between what they could do now and what they could maximize with, if it were rezoned for classification, that is in compliance with the area land use plan. There was some significant opposition at the public hearing for planning and zoning on both instances. The residents expressed concerns about changing of the rural character of the area, as well as impacts on traffic and drainage. Again, reiterating the traffic concerns for the area as this area is starting to develop with the new hospital in additions to the industrial park, as well as several of the subdivisions that have come into fruition over the past few years. Again, the rezoning is compatible with the policies of the land use plan for this area. Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval, and staff recommends approval in concurrence.
So we're talking about 18 lots difference.
Under the current zoning, they could develop 92 lots. Again, that's just pending they maximize the amount of space on the property to allow them to develop.
Same arguments that were made in the previous controversial case, I think, apply here also, as far as the character of the community. And, the ingress, egress, going to this is out of Camp Fletcher, am I correct?
Correct. This is north of Camp Fletcher on Fletcher Road.
Yeah, Fletcher Road.
And currently, there are plans for road improvements in that area that would involve straightening out where there is this portion of curve.
Right. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open public hearing Z-22-005. Is there anyone in opposition to or in favor of this particular item? Yes, ma'am. Now, you did not have a sign-in sheet. Okay, so what I need for you to do is come up and state your name, your address, and that's it. Who we begin with? Yes, ma'am. Come on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Ronnie Tillman, and I'm at 5062 Fletcher Road. Okay, I'm opposed to this because I have a story to tell also. My parents bought the property out there in the 50s. We have lived out there since then. Okay, since that time, we have had serenity and peace. No traffic, well, minimal traffic, no walkers, no nothing, because we're in an area where we are like secluded. So now, since we've grown up, we have 3 schools in the area, which is McAdory, McCullough Elementary. We also have the, at a Christian Academy School. The hospital is in the process of building. Okay, with this plan that the developers are considering, it is going to increase our traffic tremendously. My house is, where they're talking about building, my house is right across the street from that section. Now, mind you, we've been there since the 50s, okay, and I really, not only me, but some of the other neighbors don't want to see this development happen. We're on acreage. Okay, the homes, some of the homes out there are anywhere between $500,000-$700,000 homes. Okay, and to see all this development coming in, it's going to create issues for us. You know, we're going to have walkers because they're constantly building on a subdivision that's right up the street now from where we are. Okay, and that subdivision is going like around some of the houses that are already there. Okay, and with this subdivision coming in that they're wanting to build, it's going to be a lot of traffic. There are no buses out there. You have to have cars. No bus run out there. Okay. Okay. And the wildlife is just disappearing. The wildlife is just disappearing. But my biggest concern is the people that will be coming into the area is not so much the people that will be buying. It's the other family members that will be coming in that may not be in the same category as the family members that were there. You know, that's where your walkers and everything come in. So I am strongly disopposing the bill of this subdivision. It's just, it's too much. It's too much to digest. And most of the people that are out there now, we're up in age, you know, and it's a lot of traffic and to have to deal with out there. And I'm just not for the development, period.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate you comment. And someone else that could raise their hand also. Yes, ma'am, please. State your name, your address, and how close you are to this
Yes, sir.
proposed development.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chanel Fletcher. I'm at 4975 Monroe Drive. If I can use, there was a picture or corner at one time.
Wow.
Thank you so much, sir. Let's see.
You're right across from the entrance to this.
Well, actually, here are the proposed parcels here. This road here that is a one-way in and one-way out, that is 3 miles long. At the top of it, you have UAB construction here for the hospital. Wonderful. This is up in the commercial area up here where CVS and all the businesses are. As you come on down this 2-lane, that's, if you want to compare it to somewhere else, you compare it to like a Shannon Road, where there's just 2 lanes, it's very rural, a lot of trees and such. As you come on down this area, it gets a little bit more dense. Here are the 3 parcels that are in question. This is Blue George Loop. This home right here is directly across from this subdivision. This home is valued almost $1 million. This land is 10 acres that a teacher from Jefferson County proposes to build a $600,000 home that she is now considering not to build because of this proposed subdivision. This is Ms. Tillman's land, which has been in her family, that's 10 acres. Here, this home here is valued at $800,000. All these homes on this street are valued at either between $500,000 and $1 million on this street here. This is Camp Fletcher, which has been in place for years, that services, a lot of kids in the area and other areas as well. Well, if you come on down this 2-lane, right here where it intersects and come here, all this backs up is Shades Creek, okay? So you have 3 parcels here that consist of 103 acres. That's a hill. When you have this hill and you clear this many acres with trees, you're going to cause an issue down here for all of these residents down in this area, even Camp Fletcher, where the creek runs behind. That is one of the concerns. This same piece of parcel was voted down years ago when the first developer tried to develop it. It was basically for storm water issues. Why now is it being approved? It's the same piece of land. You can say what you can do, but once you leave, we have to deal with that water. We have to deal with the flooding that's down there. We moved there almost 20 years ago because this area is tranquil. It's serene. It has wildlife. Most of the people down in this area have acres. They don't have lots. They have acres of land. Their families have grown up here. Their children are down here. And we want to keep it this way. So first and foremost, we're opposed to it. We want to keep it the way it is because, like I said, this is just our way of life. In addition to that, you have subdivisions that are being put in place all up and down this one road. They've constructed or have future plans for the traffic part of it. They have a turnaround or over 100 and something people in this subdivision. You have this subdivision up here that's adding on another up to 100. You have Trace, I believe it's some kind of Trace that's on this side that's adding another 100 residents here. You have a new proposition that just came up last week for 4 houses, so we know that McCullough is up and growing, but at some point, it's gotta stop, it's getting over flooded. And nobody has to deal with this but us. And we would like to keep it the way that it is. We met with the developer and we expressed to him our concern. We don't want it. When they come in and build these houses that may decrease the value of the homes that are there because you're putting so many that are gonna be self-valued hours, they're gone. They don't have to deal with the water. They don't have to deal with the traffic. They don't have to deal with the increased crime rate. They don't have to deal with any of this stuff, but we do. We don't plan on moving because someone comes in. We wanna stay. We don't wanna have to sell our home that we've saved up for years, sacrificed, because you wanna put in a subdivision and leave. We don't want that. And I will tell you, the majority of the people, and when I say majority, I'm talking 90% of the residents in this area are opposed to this project. They came out in droves the first meeting, they came out in droves the second meeting, but when they got here, they were informed that the meeting had been postponed because someone had COVID. So this time, our numbers are down. The first time we were told the meeting was gonna be at 9 o'clock. It didn't start until hours later. So it has kind of decreased the number of people because they have to work, sick, doctors, or what have you. So we don't have the numbers here, but the opposition to this is great. And I think it's greater than the need for this subdivision. So I would ask, and I know, Commissioner Stevens, you know this area. In this mess, we don't have a problem with rebuilding. We don't have a problem with new businesses. We love the fact that UAB is coming in. It's wonderful up there in the commercial area. But too much is too much. When it comes to your way of life, and I'm sure you know a lot of the residents down in Serene Lakes, Coleman Lakes, these people are against this project. They just say enough is enough. Too much growth will definitely cause problems in the future. And I'm just asking for a no vote on this proposal for the rezoning.
All right, anyone else?
Speak in favor of.
Please come up and name and address or against. Then we're gonna vote.
Yes, sir, thank you for your time. My name is Rhett Ludlow, I'm here on behalf of the property owner of the OLD Group. The rezoning request before you, just to give you a little history, you did come before the planning and zoning back in the spring with a RG zoning, which would have matched the zoning directly to the north that you see in that crosshatched area. So adjacent to here, we learned at that meeting, obviously there was plenty of opposition to that. We were requesting 269 lots. We learned that the comprehensive plan for Jefferson County had these parcels zoned or as designated as rural. Up here, it was designated as suburban. Kind of the line between the two is right here. That splits these properties. So we went back and we studied the comprehensive plan in detail. And we came up with a new plan. We cut the density by 60% from 269 lots to 100, and there's actually 107, but the request says 108 lots. We did that after studying the comprehensive plan because the comprehensive plan considers 4 elements, which, does the property have access to public streets and roads? Yes, to Fletcher Road. Fletcher Road, per the county staff, is being realigned whether or not this project happens because it's got some issues right now. Second, does the property have access to sanitary sewer? It does. Jefferson County sanitary sewer is stuck right here. And currently it would allow for 160 homes on this property. We're only requesting 107 homes on this property. Third, does the proposed zoning, the rural residential zoning, comply with the comprehensive plan? It does. The comprehensive plan specifically allows for rural residential. The name itself specifies what we're going for. We're trying to keep the rural character of the area, are requesting rural residential zoning. And finally, the comprehensive plan encourages neighborhood growth where infrastructure is. This site has roads and utilities to it, And again, we're requesting to keep that residential rural zoning, which would be a 30,000 square foot minimum lot. And when you take into account the infrastructure, you're talking about the roads that go into the subdivision, you're gonna have approximately 1 acre lots in there. So these lots will be generous sizes. If you sold that property today as it currently is without any improvements, the per acre price would probably be 12, 15,000 an acre, I'm guessing. If you go and you subdivide it and you sell those 1 acre lots in there, your per acre price based on sales prices down there is probably gonna be $100,000. You're substantially increasing the value of the property, which increases the value of the whole area. You know, I don't have to tell y'all, growth is coming this way. I personally feel, I understand the residents' concerns. By locking in a rural residential zoning today, they're preventing more dense use at some point in the future because the growth is coming this way. You've got the hospital, you've got the Smucker's plant, you've got, you know, y'all know what's happening at Jeff Met down there. It's coming one way or the other. And I do understand their concerns, but.
Thank you. All right, any commission like to address this?
How big are the homes, did you say?
There's no builder, this is just the property owner requesting to rezone it, but, I mean, if you have a $100,000 lot, just a general rule of thumb for builders is they're gonna put at least 20–25% of their lot. So that, I mean, the homes are gonna have to be above $400,000, maybe up to $500,000. I mean, it's gonna be a nice subdivision that, in my mind, is gonna serve those nurses and the other folks that are gonna be employed at the hospital.
Ms. Carter, could you kind of tell us what they're gonna do to Fletcher Road?
So the planned work in the vicinity is to straighten out the curve. We have, kind of some site distance issues, but it's a rural 2-lane county road.
Will it accommodate school buses?
Mr. President?
Yes, ma'am.
I know this is in your district, I'll just say that, the homeowners in that area, are very pleased with your presentation. And I'm gonna leave that at that. Very, very pleased to know that you all have been actively involved, in the communications and the meetings that take place, and more importantly, that you're here before us today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
I just had to say this. There were letters sent to Mr. Burke.
We have the letter, yes, ma'am.
In addition to the Cahaba Valley's assessment of this water issue, as well, how they feel about the water issue. So there are other oppositions than just the homeowners to this plan.
About very, very much aware of it.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. This time like close the public hearing. Bob? Yes, sir.
My name is Chris Eckroyd. I'm Capline Engineering, representing the OLE group as well. I wanted to take a moment just to address a concern about the stormwater. We did reach out to the county's consultant. His name has just left mine. I've just forgotten his name as we bring him up here, but the gentleman at Auburn, we had a long conversation about the stormwater in this area in the comprehensive study he's doing. So ultimately, our goal is to work with your consultant who's kind of redoing the whole model down in this area of the county, as I understand the conversation with him. So while he didn't have it complete at this time, we had a good conversation about inserting our project into the model and being compliant with everything that he's trying to achieve within the county's, within the directive that the engineering department has given. So if there are concerns about stormwater, I mean, we fully intend to work with the county's their consultant of Auburn regarding those. So I haven't heard any specific complaints from Cahaba River Society or somebody else's assessment, but that's just our response to that, is that we have reached out to the county consultant who's currently working on it. And again, his work wasn't complete at the time of our conversation, but we fully intend to mesh with whatever he's doing there.
This time like close the public hearing.
Mr. President, I move for approval.
We have a motion for approval. Do we have a second?
Move to deny, Mr. President.
Have a motion to deny.
It's already done.
No, he said motion to approve.
Any further?
Okay, because you didn't get a second, but I thought.
Okay, guys, county attorney, they got a year.
You should go ahead and do your motion to
Did not motion to deny.
So was that right?
Well,
What I said? I know
deny.
y'all think you know more than I do, but I thought that that's what needed to happen since that failed.
If it fails, why are you pulling the second motion?
It's
I'm
not.
just, your record is you have a motion for approval that's failed, but then you should go ahead and complete the record by having your other motion. I think you just denied the motion when you didn't get the second. Or you didn't pass the motion. That's my recommendation. Okay, well, we can do it both ways. How about that?
That'll work. Motion to deny, we got a second.
Second. Excuse me, I made.
We
They got real quiet.
have a motion and a second. I guess we need to call the roll.
Commissioner Evans? No. Commissioner Wright?
Aye.
Commissioner Scales?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson? Commissioner Stevens?
Yes. Motion is denied now. All right, yeah, normally we don't have these type of.
I think we have one more.
I think we have an order done.
We did, I think. This is one we carried over. It's kind of public hearing. I think we had a public hearing, right?
Yes, you did hold a public hearing on the other item. It's just a regular item on their development services.
Do what?
It's just a regular item under our development services agenda, but yes, you already got the public hearing on that.
Is that D 220037?
Correct.
There was some things that they were gonna do last time, and this is about a drainage study, I think.
Correct.
Okay, did we have a drainage study?
They did submit one to the engineers of the Department of Roads and Transportation. I think that they were satisfied with the findings as far as the rezoning goes. There were some things that they were going to need to tweak with their site planning, if they were to move forward with the development.
Okay,
You gonna pull that one out separately?
is it an item on the agenda? What item?
It's item number 56.
We'll just pull it out and discuss it separately when we get to it. Commissioner, you have resolution 1377. We did have 78, but one of those items was removed and we just discussed it, voted on it, because it did require a public hearing. So we have 77 items. Is there any that a particular commission would like full consideration? Okay. 25 and 27 and 56. So
You got an item.
I think we need to pull 21 just for 21 change.
yeah. So the in and change will be for 21, and we can address that one. There is a $50,000 infrastructure for a total of $80,000. It's 30 and 50. And that did not make it to part of the agenda, but it did make it to our original. So,
I'll make a motion for 1 through 77, holding out 21, 25, 27, and 56. Separate
motion second. All in favor say aye. Aye. So those are approved. Let's go with 21. 21 is a resolution authorizing a community gap program effort to Friends of the Call in the amount of $50,000 for assisting finishing the athletic complex, $30,000 for community grant, plus a $30,000 for a community grant, $50,000 for infrastructure, for a total of $80,000.
I'll make a motion to approve it based on that.
Motion second, all in favor say aye. Aye. 21 is done. 25, Commissioner.
56.
Yeah, we'll end it 56, Mr. Knight. Okay? Mike? Okay.
Yes, sir. Again, this is a request for a subdivision development, going from A1 to R1. Again, we held a public hearing on it. The original public hearing for planning was on the commission and works and residents who live in the subdivision on the opposite side of Turkey Creek from here. We have concerns about the effects on the creek. And again, it was asked by Commissioner Knight to carry this over for further investigation of the drainage on the site. I believe the engineers who are working on the project are here, as well as the county engineer, if you have any questions regarding finding those.
Has the preliminary drainage analysis been done?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it subject to your approval and standards?
Yeah. The proposed, drainage management addresses the change in inflows from development.
I'm sorry?
I said the proposed, detention for the project addresses the change in stormwater for the project. So it would address the issue of the impact.
So we're good with it? Okay. So we do have one, how many houses was this? I can't remember. I think our gentlemen are here. 57, that's right. Okay. One parking space per development, I had a little problem with that. But
That's just what's required in regulations for single family dwellings. Yes.
I'll move on.
Sorry.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. 56, 25, Commissioner. Aye. 25 and 27, those are related to the work. Pull those out separately, vote on them.
Yes.
All right, we have, need a motion, Commissioner Knight.
I move item 25 and 27.
Second.
Have a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll let you know.
And we have 4-1. So we have that.
For you. That's why when you said I wanted to speak to it.
Yeah, and in a minute, I'll answer your,
Yeah, but
Commissioner
for
Scales
public
had a
consumption.
question for public consumption. There were 4 million and the 6.5 is what was in that entire budget. The $2.5 million was for the civil rights district, was already in the budget. So that money was already allocated for tourism, the money that had been lost for tourism during.
But Ms. President, I also, in addition to that, I actually had a statement and we were so fast and we passed it. But my statement was, and I wanted to be clear on one question, Ms. Dixon, you can help me with this. So basically, those tourism dollars do not, or do, tell me as it relates to the reflection of those operational needs that we provide for our citizens. I'm saying this for the record, versus those dollars that we are using, and let me be clear, as it relates to those entities, because I think that this has not been conveyed to the public properly, that this game requested services, and it is those vendors that this commission has been trying to make sure that in support of making sure that those things are addressed. So I just want to be sure for the record, I know what I've seen on TV, but for the record, the difference between what we're doing in terms of tourism dollars versus the concerns of the community, that they believe that perhaps this may be taking away anything in terms of governmental services that we provide.
This is funded out of ARPA. And ARPA money can be used for several different things, right?
I understand that, but I wanted to be clear, because you are CFO, that residents understand the difference in the dollars that are being used for tourism versus the idea that monies are being taken away from their communities or their neighborhoods, such as roads and any other service that we provide as a county.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, no, I want you to speak to that.
This is ARPA, I'll defer to Cal on this one.
Yeah, the ARPA grant, of course, is federal dollars. It has very restricted uses. Y'all have approved the 4 uses that the federal government set out in the outline. And one of the uses was tourism to promote recovery from the COVID outbreak and pandemic. So it's very specific for tourism. Y'all had set up a contingency amount. We moved that to the tourism bucket. And we could not use that money for roads or that kind of thing. And I think you have a pretty good program for all the other buckets that you are using it for too.
Well, I wanted that to go on the record, not on just television or any other form of media. I wanted to be very clear for the record that those dollars could not be used for those operational needs that our citizens are looking for us to provide. Okay, and so therefore, the public needs to know that, and they need to know what we are attempting to do and in the vein in which we're operating. So I wanted that to be stated. And that's that.
Commissioner, we have one item of new business is to authorize Mr. President to execute documents for the Jefferson County Sheriff to receive a grant for the East Central Alabama Safety Office to provide reimbursement for traffic enforcement.
Yes, this is a time-sensitive request. It's a grant that's given every year by the sheriff. It allows reimbursable expenses for the sheriff's office to do traffic.
I'll move for unanimous consent.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for unanimous consent for one item of new business.
Commissioner Ammons?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Yes.
Commissioner Spells? Commissioner Tyson? Commissioner Stevens?
Yes.
I'm looking for
Second.
We have a motion and a couple of seconds.
Commissioner Ammons?
Yes.
Commissioner Knight?
Aye.
Commissioner Spells?
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson?
Yes.
Commissioner Stevens?
All right, we got that done. Now we have item number 27 that we did not address. I thought we were doing them together. Item 25 and 27.
I move item 27.
No, just on 25. She did it.
25 and 27. I thought it was
It was both.
I didn't.
I vote no on both of them.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
We had a motion and a second. It was for both of them. Yeah,
Right, that was the reason why I provided my level of question.
all right. Is there commission questions?
Yes, I do have, I have a town hall meeting tonight at the Mary Dorsey Center at 4560 Park Avenue Southwest, 35211 Birmingham. We will be having some of the county departments out on road and transportation with some project, environmental service, with the sewer projects that's over in that area. We will have the sheriff department. It has been to address, and pinpoint a lot of crime that's within that area. We will have Mothers Against Violence. They will be there to talk about the violence in the community and the work that they are doing and the things that they are doing within the Jefferson County with the violence with the young adults that we have been having within that area. We will have a representative from the pro tem, the president, Wardine Alexander's office. She's actually in the conference, so she will have somebody there to represent her. So we're asking for people to come out to hear their plan, to address some of the violence, and to hear what the county is doing actually in that area.
It's a pleasure. Commissioner Knight chairs the 911 committee along with myself as a co-chair, and I'm going to ask Donnie West and his team to come on up. It's not, with the Fitch report coming out and It's saying that our 911 system was very chaotic. It was a week after that report came out that Donnie was in Anaheim, California to receive an award for their training program. It's a P33 award. And I thought it was very important that we recognize them for the level of service and training that they're providing for their staff and what it really means for the people of Jefferson County. And to say thank you for what you've done and how you've improved the level of service to the citizens and how you work with Birmingham 911. So tell us just a little bit about it.
Yeah, so these two individuals here actually help with the accreditation process. So I'm gonna let her step up. And this is Marcy Ledbetter. She's actually our center manager. And so there's a process to go through for accreditation. And that process is what they took on about 2 years ago. It's kind of one of our strategic plan check marks that we wanted to do. And so being the first in the state of Alabama as a 911 center to be recognized for accreditation, but also on a national level as well. So I'm going to let Marcy take it from here and talk a bit about it.
It was a lot of work. I had a big hand in it as our training coordinator. But basically what P33 is, it maintains our training program at national level. So our curriculum, material, everything is national standards. So that in turn helps us provide better service for our community.
And I think part of the release, it said meets or exceeds. So I think exceeding is even better, and something always to be looked at. Commissioner Knight?
Donnie, we've known you a long time. You've been the fire chief, you've been assistant chief, any director out there. You and our chief done a great job over the years, and man, we're proud of you. We appreciate all of you for what you've done, for making, and I know there's been some chatter out there on some 911 stuff, but you guys kick it, and we appreciate all that you do. We really do, because without you guys, who's going to answer when we need help?
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
We thank you for that.
And I think it's also important to note that Donnie is a big part of helping us with looking at the ambulance issue in Jefferson County, and we could not do this without his help. And of course, his history is that he was also with Hoover as a firefighter for 60 years.
Yeah, about that. A long time.
So it's good to have him as from both sides, not only 911 but also on the fire and rescue side. So thank you again for what you guys all of you.
We appreciate that. And thank Johnson and the audience as well. So he's our chairman for our 911, one of the 7. I just want to recognize Joe as well. I appreciate it.
Let me ask you this: have y'all learned more about planning and zoning than you ever thought you would?
I've been through it myself, so I realized.
More than we need to.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Good job. Thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you again.
Don, stay there, please.
Just ma'am.
Good.
No, are you ready for me to make my report? I'm happy, and I'm sure now you're probably thinking like, why in the world she had me stay? Yeah, because you're gonna get out town hall meeting. So I want to invite everyone to be able to come out to our public safety town hall meeting, which is going to take place on this upcoming Monday, September the 12th. At 6 o'clock, doors will open at 5 p.m. Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church, which is at 980 Huffman Road. And I'm so glad you all have said such flattering words concerning him, and I thank you for accepting my ask. We are going to have Representative Alan Treadaway, who represents the state legislature, and he's the chairman of the Public Safety and Homeland Security. In addition to that, we have our own Honorable Michael Street, who is the presiding judge for the criminal courts. In addition to that, we have District Attorney Danny Carr. We have our own Sheriff, Mark Petway. We have D'Angelo Hall and Lawrence Phillips from our Fraternal Order of Police. And of course, we have you. And I love Greg Silas. So Greg is representing the county in the 911 district. Greg represents the city of Birmingham or Birmingham 911. And then we have our own Jim Coker, who is with EMA, but he too does so much work as it relates to that. And then we have our own Ms. Heather Carter. So Ms. Heather is going to be there talking about our roads and transportation. And I wanted to make sure you stood there because one of the things that we talked about earlier this morning is how residents, when they get on that call and every second counts. So from dispatch all the way to the Alabama State Legislature, they gotta have that walkthrough in terms of what that looks like.
Sure.
And it's so much valuable work that you all do, that a lot of times, because things don't go as smoothly as we'd like for it to go, you kinda get a bad rap. So I just wanted to tell you personally, thank you, and it's gonna be my honor, for you to come on behalf of the residents of Jefferson County, particularly that eastern and north, west area of the county. Because we need your help, and so we look forward to continuing on with that relationship. So thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you.
All right, and so in addition to that, Mr. President, I did want to say how much, truthfully, this thing about the World Games has been much talk, but I do have to say that on behalf of our own representative on that Commission and Visitors Bureau board, that he's made the case several times. I think with so much that has happened, the only thing that I will say is good job, Commissioner Knight. You really tried to convince us, that we had to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is for those services that have been rendered. What does this look in terms of the international community? Even though Birmingham was the host city, I was a commissioner, a council member, so was Commissioner Tyson was a council member, but back in April 2015, when the previous mayor had signed on to host this game, it is what it is, and people have provided a service, and they need to be paid. But I will say this going forward when 2025, and I'm saying this for the record, I'm making it very clear that folk are going to have to watch their budgets. And just like we do here at the county, if you exceed your budget, you'll be on your own. I'm making that very clear. So today, I feel as though those vendors who provided a service, not those who took a risk. It is important to me that my constituents understand and know the difference between what is happening versus what they hear in soundbite. So I'm more concerned about what happens on the record. And everybody's kind of on pins and needles, and you don't need to be. But I'm going to tell you, for my constituents, they have to know why I do what I do. That's very important to me. But as we move forward, if folks don't stay within their budget, they're going to be on their own. Okay? And I think that we've been very cooperative, collaborative, and I think that we have also shown that as a county that want to forge relationships with all cities within Jefferson County, that we're here to support. But make no mistake about it, we're holding everyone accountable in terms of what they're supposed to be doing. So thank you, Commissioner Knight. You really brought this thing on in, and so hopefully everyone has learned a lesson with government themselves accordingly.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I appreciate it. I appreciate my fellow commissioners here who have supported me throughout these games. And I want to thank our county manager and our legal team for helping us find that pathway to help out in a very tough situation. And doing that without having the adverse effects, as we've already discussed, on the citizens or what their needs are. We did partner early with the city of Birmingham, the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and with the corporate community to bring these games to Birmingham, Alabama, to the United States. We provided first-class venues for these young athletes who've been in training for many, many years in order to come here and be able to compete in their own sport, and it was very good for them. The feedback that we've got from them has just been what a great opportunity it was and what a great place Birmingham is. With all the violence going on around the world, we hosted an international event without incident, and that's thanks to our great job done by collectively the emergency management agency in Jefferson County, the police department, and our awesome deputies who stepped up to the plate also. We exported a lot of goodwill throughout the world, thanks to our wonderful volunteers, and to all those who were involved in the games. And as we all know, at the end, we did have a debt. We began working very hard to try to figure out a way to ensure that those who worked, those who risked, those who put input into these games, especially those that brought them here, get paid. So we've done that. We continue to do that, work diligently to get these people paid. And again, I want to thank my colleagues, our county team, because it's the right thing to do to get these people paid. And we are not going to abandon our partners that we partnered with over the last years. We're not going to abandon them when the chips are down. So we found a pathway. Thank you again, and we'll continue to get this issue resolved. Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone. We've had a very long meeting today. We've dealt with a lot of different issues. And one issue that we really haven't spoken about tonight is in this entire agenda we passed fiscal year budget and all of the accompanying resolutions. So we've done it on time. We have a balanced budget. I would like to take this time to thank county management, county finance team, my fellow commissioners that worked so diligently and so hard to get this budget done that will impact positively to our citizens and improve their quality of life. It's a great thing that we can do this. There was a time when we were here that the budget process took 6 months, 8 months, and then we trust to the last minute. That's not the case anymore, and we certainly do appreciate it. And